Alright, so we're doing some basic tutorials on some things that you may or may not know in Farming Simulator 22. And today I'd like to do a basic video showing alfalfa. Alfalfa is a crop that's not on every map. It's not technically in the game, but a lot of maps, mod maps like this one here, we are in Alma, Missouri. It's a really great map, and I'll have a video on this upcoming. For instance, this map, and you can see one easy place is right here in the crop calendar. You can see they've got some custom crops, like many mod maps do, that are not in the game by default, such as rye, peas, and alfalfa in the case here. You can see them at the bottom here and also in the fill types screen we'll be looking at in a moment. So sometimes when you come to a map like this, and this has happened to me many times, you get a map and it has some custom crop types, but there's really no explanation as to how to work with them. So today I'm going to show you how to work with alfalfa, how you harvest it, and ways to harvest it, and kind of in general with these kind of crops is how you know. So one main thing is, obviously I have a tractor set up here with a mower. So we're going to mow this, and I'll show you why I instinctively thought that and how you can kind of figure out what to do with a custom crop like this that's not in the game but added by a map. The first thing you want to do when you see a crop like this, what I do is you can go to your little tools here, go to headers, and see what the basic headers will harvest. Let's just go to a regular basic header, like for instance this, and we see wheat, oats, barley, canola, soybeans, sorghum, and those are all the crops we recognize. But then we see, well, that's, I believe, peas and rye, I think is what it was on this map. I just started playing on this map, but so any custom crops are going to be added at the end, and they're going to have icons you don't recognize. So I know that well, for instance, I know that alfalfa is not one of them, so I know I don't harvest it with this, right? So that's one way to tell. Now, that said, if you're working with a map with custom crops and you see two icons in the end right there you don't recognize, what you want to do is back out of this and go to the fill types menu here, and this lists every single fill type in your game. Now, custom editions like this are generally going to be lower down here. Many maps will have custom crops as well as sometimes productions. Like here, there's like cornbread and corn flour. That's specific to this map. It's always good when you get a new map, review the kind of fill types. And again, a lot of the stuff you just kind of figure out. Well, here's alfalfa. There's alfalfa and alfalfa hay. Now, seeing that alone tells me, okay, I'm going to mow it and deal with it like grass. And for some of you, that's enough to go on. For those others of you who are not quite sure, well, I'm going to show you. But this is how you would tell. You can see this map also has its own custom version of dried corn, as many maps do, and it has corn dryers built in. And exploring a new map's things is always a fun thing to do. I don't know how to work with the peas or rye yet, but I have already looked at the harvesters. I see they can harvest them. So that tells me right there, peas and rye in this game, in this map, are harvested with a regular header, and the alfalfa is not. That's the first thing you do to get a clue. So I know that we're going to mow it. There's some things I want to talk about mowing. Even if you know this topic, you may want to stick around because there's some fun little things about mowing, especially when your grass gets mixed in with it. I will address here in a few. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fire up our tractor and get our mower out. And I will be showing you all stages of this. I'll just be progressing time really quickly on the map. I just started a new save game to show you this. So we know we're going to mow it. So let's go ahead and get our mower on. Oops. There we go. Now, okay, you can see we're dragging some grass into this. That's just going to happen. That's always going to happen. We're not going to worry about that. So we're just going to mow this. Now this, here, let's pull this up. This is a crop. Some maps have grass that you can trample, some maps don't. Alfalfa, and this is usually how it's going to be, is a crop that can be trampled. If we drive over it like this, that is going to be trampled. Different maps are different, but usually any crop this height, that will happen. So let's go ahead and put our mowers back on. Just thought I'd mention that, and you should be able to tell that. It should be appear darker here on the ground for the trampled bits. Yeah, they look like little tufts of grass sticking up. Those are the trampled bits, but it's no big deal. So let's go ahead and mow some of this here. So I'll get some of this done because this is how we're going to harvest it. Because there are definitely different harvesting methods. I mean, I just want to mention this real quick. There are definitely different harvesting methods, but since we saw that in the fill types menu there's only alfalfa grass and alfalfa hay, then we can be sure that this is only for mowing and there's no grain that we can get from this. Now, one thing I'd like to mention, I just kind of came up here and forgot my mowers are still on. I'm the kind of person, I don't really like to bother with turning my mowers off because there is a button to turn all attachments on and all attachments off. I don't have that button bound. I don't like messing with it. So what I generally do, and what I guess I should have showed here, is when you're doing a field of a grass type like this, I like to do a full loop around the outside or at least a full loop around the area I'm going to harvest, as I did here. We're going to be harvesting inside this. I like to do that because I want to drag as little grass into this as possible. Now, you'll see when we get to the baling, it really doesn't matter a whole lot, but I'd like to try to, if you put a framework around where you're working, and now we're only working in this frame here, we don't have to worry about turning our attachments on or off. We just got to work in this little area here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this little patch here finished up for us. So we're going to use the same tools that we would for grass. So we'll be using a tedder, a windrower, and a baler. Exact same tools, because basically it is grass. There are other grass types like this, and I can't recall really exactly off the top of my head. But, well, let's see. Some maps have meadow grass. It sometimes goes by other names. A common name is meadow grass. There's another word for it, and I just can't recall it off the top of my head. And it's basically a crop like this, although often I see it harvested with harvesters. Again, a lot of this stuff is map specific. I'm going to pull the baler out just here because the windrower is the next tool we want to get. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab both of these tools to make it quicker and get them out there. Sometimes if you want to transport a tool, oh, it's facing this way. Sometimes if you want to transport a tool, you can just grab it with the front, just to, move it out there temporarily, so I don't have to make 2 trips in here. Let's get this. Alfalfa is a crop like grass, and I mentioned meadow grass. It's like that too. Even though I've usually seen it harvested with a harvester, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's one of the crops which will grow back. So, for instance, this alfalfa here, we don't have to replant. And in fact, it grows pretty quick. Again, some maps may vary with specific growing times. Just got to kind of experiment, but it's a crop that's going to grow back. For instance, right now it's August. Right here, I just started this map to show you guys this. So that means if I don't get all this alfalfa done today, then when it ticks over to September, it's going to already start growing back, and I'll be trampling it, trying to finish what I started today. So let's get our windrower unfolded and out here. Just like with grass or anything else that you might swath, there is a kind of cropping called swath cropping, and I'm seeing it on more and more maps. For instance, this map here of Alma, Missouri has swathing enabled for the crops. That will be a different video. I just say that because I'm getting out the windrower, and it's generally used for grass, but I don't want to say it's just for grass because it's not. I'll have an upcoming video on swath cropping and show how you can use this tool with other crops to get better yield, but that, again, is a different story. So here we're just going to swath up our alfalfa. Now, as you noticed, and as I mentioned, we were getting some grass in the mix too. I started it off in the grass, and I definitely clipped some into the grass here too. I wasn't too neat about that, and I want you to know that it's not something you have to be overly concerned with. I'll show you exactly why and kind of how to see what's what, because some fill types get kind of mixed up here. We'll see it when we go back to the beginning. I'm just going to finish this row and drive back up to the start of the field. Okay, so here's where we started, and you can see I drug some grass in here. Now, it can be difficult to tell right now, but if you look, you can see some different colors. See how this is more of a yellowish green here? This is grass. And see how this is a little bit darker here? This is alfalfa. And no, that little pop-up info box down there is not reliable here. There are some mods that may show you what you're mousing over. Here is not the case. That's field info it's showing me, so don't be fooled by that. Some of this is alfalfa, some of it's grass. Now, it doesn't actually mix like it does in the real world. It's going to mix in chunks. It's not very visible now, but it will be once we ted it. So if you wanted to, you could bale this right here, and I still want to talk about the mixing types, but I think it'd be easier to demonstrate once it's been tedded. Once it's been tedded, they will be more different colors. And what I'm saying is you can go ahead and bale this now, but let's go ahead and pretend like we want alfalfa hay. Now, that said, so you saw in here, they are different fill types, and as far as what they're used for, if you're asking me that, that's going to depend map per map. Some maps have custom productions, which may use alfalfa, and animals also are going to work different on different maps. So likely, because this map has alfalfa built into it, it's very likely that I could feed it to horses and cows, but I'm just simply not sure. Every map has different requirements for animals, and even if I did know for this particular map, it may not be the same on another, of course. Well, here I can see that I can sell them, and alfalfa hay sells for more, which, I mean, from a gamer's perspective, makes more sense since hay takes more work to produce than just regular alfalfa. So you can see it's 2 different fill types, and they're probably used for some productions and animals on this map, but I'm not exactly sure. And again, that's purely a map-by-map basis as to things like that. maps don't usually come with instructions. So it's left to us to figure some of this out. Let's go ahead and park our windrower here. And let's grab the tedder. It'll be easier to see the distinct coloring differences, I think, between the grass and alfalfa with this. Sometimes it's really easy if you're doing wheat. Sometimes if, for instance, and I will talk about this, I will address this in a swathing video, but if you're using the windrower on wheat and you get some grass in there, that's obviously a stark difference in color you will notice. Here, not so much. Let's run this. And this is really making a mess of our field area. Yeah, I know, but farming is messy. That said, I probably should have run this before I windrowed, yeah? Yeah, I kind of just had that thought. Yeah, I didn't script this video. I don't like to script my videos. I like to keep everything just kind of as it goes. And while I did organize the thoughts in my head, I didn't think this through that well. Regardless, here we can definitely see the color difference. See, we can see, oops, get over here. Now you can see the differences in the grass and the alfalfa. You can see there's some in here and there. Don't worry about that, though. I'll show you why we don't worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and get this windrowed. Should have waited on that, but I'm going to do that now. Oh, but of course, and this goes back to, I said, do the outside first and kind of work your way in. Once you eliminate the outer border, that's the only place you're going to have grass mixed in. If you're doing rows back and forth, you're going to drag grass into your field every time you turn around, you know, like over here. But if you do the outer border first, it's the only part that's going to have grass mixed in. And I do like to keep my farms as neat as possible. So that's one tip for that. Do the outside border. And then when you're working on the inside, you won't have stuff mixed in. All right, now I've got this windrowed. And again, because the types don't actually mix, they go together in their own chunks. So here you can clearly see, now we can clearly see this is the stage I wanted to get to. So what we're going to do now is make some alfalfa hay bales. Now, generally, when you start picking up a crop type with your baler, the bale is going to be set to whatever type you first pick up. However, if the baler ends up, for instance, it's going to start filling up with grass. See all this up here? You can see the lighter green, the lighter, more yellow green. This is regular grass hay. It's going to start making a bale of that. But as we go and we get more alfalfa, it will change the type to alfalfa. So, in other words, that's to say you don't need to worry too much. I'm not sure what the exact ratio is, but I was splashing some grass in there to show you this. It really doesn't matter if you get a little messy. And start baling this. And we'll notice if you look down the bottom, right down there by the tachometer, it says grass. As we pick up more alfalfa, it will switch to alfalfa here. And then, yeah, it switched to alfalfa. Notice that. And so now this bale is going to be all alfalfa hay. If I were to drive over there, if I had an overwhelming amount of alfalfa grass, it might change to that, but that's not going to happen as we are at 69% alfalfa hay. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and fill up this bale and finish this, and I'll be right back with you guys. And there we have. Now when I mouse over it, I'll be able to see what it is, and I'll be able to see that here we have alfalfa, sorry, down at the very bottom, yeah, alfalfa hay, 4,500 liters. It's just a smaller bale. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and get us a bale of alfalfa grass, as I haven't tedded that area over there. That's still grass. Now here, because there's not a whole row left over, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of merging. You know, the windrow will just pick up whatever is under it and merge it into one row. In fact, if you get two of these rows close enough, you can combine them. You can work rows together and get huge windrows so that you can make less passes with your baler if you want to. I have before, for one reason or another, used a wider windrower than I need. All right, now we are picking up grass. Now, there was already some regular, you know, grass mixed in with this. And since I did a pass of hay, especially if we get from this windrow here, this windrow is right adjacent to where we were doing hay, so there could be some hay mixed in with this windrow as well. But because it's predominantly alfalfa grass, our bale that we're putting out is going to be alfalfa grass. Let's park this right here by our other bale. So here we've got a bale. Oh, it's wrapping that one. Okay. I didn't expect. I know. Perhaps I should use a different baler. All right. Here it depends what baler you use. This baler is wrapping it, and that kind of. I was going to show you the difference in color, but it automatically wrapped that. I guess that is basically the same thing. It's basically fermenting it. It's the same thing as if we were to put it into a bunker silo. That's a topic for a different video. But yeah, you can see here it's fermenting it. And that we would use to mix for cattle feed. That's, again, a different video. But here we have only balers with the wrapping thing on the back will do this. And it's totally my bad for not scripting this and bringing a different baler. Regardless, there we have a bale of alfalfa grass, and here's alfalfa hay. We can sell them at the different fill types mentioned, the different sell points mentioned in the fill types menu, and we can feed these to our animals. So guys, I hope that I tried to cover as concisely as I could and as simply and quickly as I could exactly what you might want to do with alfalfa. Again, different crops work different on different maps, but this is generally how you can expect to deal with it. And this goes with any crop. Any crop that you see that you're not sure what to do with, check here first. Just go to the headers and see, can these headers, what do these headers pick up on this map? Oh, I see 2 icons there I've never seen, right? Also, you can go to the corn headers map and just make sure that corn, sunflower, okay, because sometimes they'll add custom stuff to this as well. All right, guys, I hope that I covered everything here and answered any questions you may have about alfalfa. Be sure to subscribe and follow along with the channel as I do farming simulator let's plays here, as I do some little role playing on the maps, and follow along with those. Also, I have video guides here and many other things. Be sure to comment below. Tell me what you think. All right, guys, I will catch you all next time.